Marriage. It's the most beautiful and brutal journey many of us will ever undertake. The world tells us love is a feeling, a spark, a fairy tale. But what happens when the spark fades? When the feelings waver? When the fairy tale feels more like a battlefield? Friends, I've been there. My husband and I stood on the edge of divorce, screaming over laundry and unmet expectations. But God showed us a better way, a way to rebuild our marriage on a foundation that doesn't crumble. This isn't a self-help guide. This is a rescue manual. Today, we're diving into God's secrets for a love that doesn't just survive, but thrives. Let's begin with the ultimate love story. Let's rewind to the very first marriage. Genesis 2, verse 24. I says, that is why a man leaves his father and mother and is united to his wife, and they become one flesh. One flesh. Not roommates. Not business partners. A sacred, unbreakable bond. But then sin entered the garden. Adam blamed Eve. Eve blamed the serpent. And suddenly, intimacy was replaced with shame. But here's the good news. Christ came to restore what sin destroyed. Marriage isn't about finding the perfect person, it's about two imperfect people clinging to a perfect Savior. Ephesians 5 isn't a list of rules, it's a revelation of Christ's love. When Paul says, "Husbands, love your wives as Christ loved the church," he's calling men to a love that dies to self. And wives aren't called to grovel, they're invited to mirror the church's radiant devotion to Christ. It's a dance of mutual surrender. Ephesians 5, verses 21 to 33, submit to one another out of reverence for Christ. Wives, submit yourselves to your own husbands as you do to the Lord. For the husband is the head of the wife, as Christ is the head of the church, his body, of which he is the Savior. Now as the church submits to Christ, so also wives should submit to their husbands in everything. Husbands, love your wives, just as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her to make her holy, cleansing her by the washing with water through the word, and to present her to himself as a radiant church, without stain or wrinkle or any other blemish, but holy and blameless. In this same way, husbands ought to love their wives as their own bodies. He who loves his wife loves himself. After all, no one ever hated their own body, but they feed and care for their body, just as Christ does the church, for we are members of his body. For this reason a man will leave his father and mother and be united to his wife, and the two will become one flesh. This is a profound mystery, but I am talking about Christ and the church. However, each one of you also must love his wife as he loves himself, and the wife must respect her husband. Raise your hand if you've ever said something to your spouse you instantly regretted. Yeah, me too. Words can be weapons. Or they can rebuild. Proverbs 18, verse 21 says, "The tongue has the power of life and death, and those who love it will eat its fruit." So how do we choose life? James 1, verse 19 says, "A brother wronged is more unyielding than a fortified city, disputes are like the barred gates of a citadel." Try this. For every minute you speak, listen for 2. And here's a game changer. Pray for your spouse before addressing a grievance. It's hard to stay bitter when you're asking God to bless them. Maybe you're here today because your marriage is in a hurricane: infidelity, addiction, loss. Hear this. Your pain is not the end of your story. 2 Corinthians 4, verses 8 to 9 says, "We are hard-pressed on every side, but not crushed, perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not abandoned, struck down, but not destroyed." Your marriage can survive this, but not alone. Let's talk about sex. No, really. The world reduces intimacy to a physical act, but God designed it as a holy celebration. Song of Solomon 7, verse 10 says, "I belong to my beloved, and his desire is for me." Guard your marriage bed. Flee lust. But also, enjoy each other. Date nights aren't frivolous, they're fuel. Maybe today, your marriage feels like a pile of ashes. But Christ specializes in resurrection. This is my prayer journal from year 3 of our marriage, the year I begged God to change my husband. Then God whispered, "Let me change you first." And he did. Don't give up. Start fresh today. Your marriage isn't just about you. It's a living testimony of Christ's relentless love. Go build something eternal.